Wow. Just wow. That's all I need to describe this movie. Seriously, if you are a fan of the first one, then you're most likely gonna love this one. And that's all that needs to be said. I just recently rewatched Into the Spider-Verse, and I totally forgot how amazing it was. Probably since it came out damn near 5 years ago. Maybe not quite, maybe like 4.5 years ago or something, but man, I've watched a lot of movies since then. Like, it blends all you know from Spider-Man comics and movies, and if you're a Spider-Man fan, it gets very emotional at times. The story was captivating, it was humorous, and the animations were just incredible. And I thought this second one, Across the Spider-Verse, wasn't going to be as good coming into it, because I mean, like, after rewatching the first one recently, I was like, how are you going to top that, you know? Like, it'd be very hard to do so, and it doesn't. You know, it's one of those common situations where the sequel doesn't quite surpass the original, at least in my opinion, but maybe that's a good thing. So in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Miles Morales reunites with past friends as they explore the multiverse, where Miles is mind blown when he finds all sorts of spider-like heroes. With that many similar to him, Miles gets lost within himself and tries to figure out the multiverse and the hero he is destined to become. And like I said, for me, it might not be as good as the first one, but it still packs the same kind of punch. The action scenes were arguably more exhilarating this time around. It was equal to or even more thrilling, and definitely more wild than the first, what with all the spider heroes. The only spider variant that I think I didn't see at all was like a symbiote kind of Spider-Man, or something like a horrifying R-rated Spider-Man, which I know there's some in the comics somewhere. But yeah, unfortunately it is what it is though. I mean, look, we still did see a lot of variants of Spider-Men, women, and even more crazy and over-the-top ones. It was pretty hilarious at times, and like, they're really expanding the whole idea of the multiverse, and there were also a lot of Easter eggs and references longtime fans will appreciate. Which, I'm not going to spoil, but let's say that it even goes into the Spider-Man movies as well, and not these movies, but you know, some of the past movies from Marvel Studios, the ones that aren't the animations. Wink. I mean, probably no. I probably said too much at this point, but yeah, like, if you're a Spider-Man fan, then I feel you'll definitely appreciate this film a lot more. And I mean, I would say Spider-Man is my favorite superhero of all time. Full stop. Like, his whole story, his whole character arc, you know, through multiple different films and multiple different actors, and that's why I really appreciated No Way Home and now this film. But I'm still young. I never really read any of the comics, unfortunately, so to more veteran fans, I might not be experienced enough to talk about this aspect. I'm assuming the comics dived into the multiverse too. I don't know. I haven't been bothered to research that yet. But for me, I really like this idea, and this got way more further elaborated in this film. And throughout No Way Home and this one, they just connect all the past Spider-Man series and make them feel connected, which as an MCU fan, I really love. Like, this idea of just the continuous connected universe, basically. This film, can we even call it a film? It's like a comic book brought to life, and I really like this concept. The animation is definitely one of the highlights of these movies. Man, the visuals, the animations are just amazing, even more this time around, since they're like, you know, jumping through hoops in the multiverse, kind of like when Doctor Strange did in that one hilarious scene in Multiverse of Madness. Like, we saw so many different art styles in this one, and along with certain scenes that had these comic book layouts with the dialogue, you know, and the kind of storyboard kind of design, it added another depth to like a Marvel movie that I never knew I needed. Like I said, it's literally just a comic book brought to life, and even for me, who's someone that's not really that into comics, even as a kid, I still really enjoyed it a lot. It was thrilling, it was vibrant, it was wild, it was just crazy fun. And I think especially for me this time around, since I was sitting in those chairs that had that kind of 4D effect, or the chairs that like moved to the action that was on screen, man, I thought it would get annoying over time, but it actually proved to be way more immersive than I thought it would be. It's like when you use a phone that has a haptic feedback. Yeah, it's kind of like that, where it just ultimately felt pretty satisfying. This movie also was arguably more humorous, but for me, it was a bit less emotional. It's kind of a shame. I mean, I teared up a couple times during the first movie because a lot of moments were very heartfelt, and I didn't really feel that much in this movie, or I didn't feel the kind of oomph that the first movie had emotional-wise. Which makes sense because the first one showed a lot of Miles's development. This one showed a bit too, but definitely less. But regardless, I still love seeing the development of Miles throughout this film. He definitely goes through some tough decisions and has to figure out a lot on his own. People continuously doubt his ability, but he strives to prove people wrong, and that was inspiring to watch. Both throughout this movie and also a lot in the first one as well. But compared to the first one, this one was a lot more wild and crazy though. I actually also remembered a thing I didn't like about the first movie like ages ago, right? This was before me, maybe 4.5 years ago me or something like that. But I thought for the first movie, when Noir, Peter Parker, Penny Parker, and Peter Porker arrived, I mean, in that movie, it was a bit too wild for my liking. Now after phase whatever, and we jumped into multiverse things, this shit doesn't really faze me anymore. I mean, because this movie definitely was way more wild. It was so much more crazier. I'd say wild is definitely one of the first keywords that comes into my brain when I think about this movie. It's like times 10 of how wild the first one was. I will say though, I definitely enjoyed the villain of the first one a lot more though. I remember the scenes with the Prowler being really freaky and exciting in a way, and Kingpin was also very respectable too. The one in this one definitely is more of a in the shadows type, but not only that, right? But, I mean, look, I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say what I felt at the end. If you watched the movie along with me, let's share kind of a in our thoughts moment. That ending was wild. All I'm going to say though is that this movie felt long. Now, the official runtime is 2 hours and 15 minutes. 2 hours and 15 minutes, around about then. But it honestly felt like it was at least another 15 minutes longer than it was. And I'm trying to think, why is that the case? A lot happens, right? A lot kind of gets thrown at you. And also because a lot of moments towards the end kind of, you think it's going to end, but then it just continues on. And that's because the build-up in the end is just really crazy, right? You think it's gonna end, but then it continues. There's that, the moments where you're like, oh shit, is it really gonna end like this? That's legit what I thought when I was during the third act and towards the finale of this movie. This movie builds up really hard for what's to come, and I can't tell you how much I am looking forward to it. Ultimately, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse keeps all of the same charm from the first one. It was thrilling, exhilarating, hilarious at times. The animations were just a joy to watch. It had a captivating story too, and even though it definitely felt way less emotional than the first one, I don't know if I would say way less, but for me it kind of... Look, I teared up 3 times during the first one during my rewatch, bro. Maybe it was during a part of my life or time where I get emotional easier, but I didn't even tear up once this movie, so just goes to show. But even still, it still had a lot of heart that the first one had. I am a bit sad that there's no mid-credit scene or post-credit scene. At least give us something, right? Like the first one did. That was absolutely hilarious, but it is what it is. I'm going to give Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse an A-. I'd probably give the first one like an A or even an A+. A+ might be stretching it because that means that movie was like absolutely one of the best I've ever watched. I don't know if I would say that though, but so I'm more leaning towards an A, which means that this movie is either like a B+ or an A. Like if that movie is an A, this is a B+. Like, you know, you get what I'm saying? Like, I feel like this movie, while it was definitely very good, I mean, the reason why I didn't rate it a B+ is because I've rated so many, I think I've rated like 70% of my movies this year B+, just because they are good, but they don't exceed expectations, right? This one definitely kind of did. So that's why I'm leaning more to an A-, but I still feel like this movie is 2 like minor grades below the first one. So, you know, A A+, A-, or A and B+. You get it, right? One thing I did forget to mention was the soundtrack. Now, the reason why, I guess, is because I don't know. I still feel like the soundtrack of the first one was better in my eyes. I just definitely do feel that way, especially in the emotional sequences of the first movies. That soundtrack or some of the songs played in that one hit really hard. This one wasn't as memorable, so I don't know. I didn't feel it that much. But what I did feel was the visuals, the animations. Like I said, man, I didn't know it could look that good or like be that exhilarating. Wow. Man, the art style, it's like exactly what I said with the Puss in Boots movie from last year, man. It's definitely one of the highlights of this movie for me. But not only that, but this movie definitely had a really captivating story, and I am very excited for the next movie. Let me tell you that much. Yeah. But anyway, guys, that's it. Let me know what you think down below. This is me signing off. And as always, you know, like, sub, comment if you enjoyed, and check out any of my other videos. Until next time.